Today I'm enjoying reading Macbeth, and I got these. One is this Cambridge Student's Guide, the other is the No Fear Shakespeare, and this is the Cornell Guide to Shakespeare. So I've really enjoyed it. I've been reading from there, you understand such a lot. So I've decided to read from each of these a little bit from here and there. So we all know the story anyway, so I picked up this Cornell Guide. It's by Graham Bradshaw, and he talks about the summary of the plot. Act 1, the play opens in thunder and lightning with three witches chanting round a boiling cauldron. A wounded sergeant reports to King Duncan that his generals, Macbeth and Banquo, have defeated the allied forces of Norway and Ireland, led by the traitor Macdonald, Macbeth, and Banquo, wandering on a heath after their victory, meet the three witches, who greet them with prophecies. The first witch hails Macbeth as Thane of Glamis, which is his present title. The second as Thane of Cawdor, and third proclaims he shall be king hereafter. The witches tell Banquo he will father a line of kings. When they vanish, a messenger arrives from the king informing Macbeth he is now to be Thane of Cawdor. Macbeth begins to ponder how he can achieve the final prophecy and become king. When Duncan arrives to stay at Macbeth's castle at Inverness, Lady Macbeth hatches a plan to murder him and secure the throne for her husband. Macbeth agonizes, but Lady Macbeth eventually persuades him. Then you have this Act 2. And of course, there are many scenes in every act as you go through. Like even when you have the Act 1, there are around 7 scenes. So Act 1, there are Scene 1, Scene 2, Scene 3, Scene 4, Scene 5, Scene 6, and Scene 7, the summary of which I have just let you know. So these are the scenes out there. Okay. So then, again, I'm reading the summary. Act 2. Macbeth hallucinates before entering Duncan's quarters to commit the murder, believing he sees a bloody dagger. After the murder, he is so shaken that Lady Macbeth takes courage, framing Duncan's sleeping servants as she has planned to do by placing bloody daggers in their hands. The next morning, Macbeth arrives and discovers Duncan's corpse. Feigning anger, Macbeth murders the guards before they can protest their innocence. Macbeth is suspicious of Macbeth, but does not reveal his suspicions publicly. Fearing for their lives, Duncan's sons flee. Malcolm to England, Donalbain to Ireland. Macbeth assumes the throne after being elected the new King of Scotland. So Act 2, there are around 4 scenes, which the summary I've just read. Now we take Act 3 summary, has 6 scenes. So in this, Macbeth is uneasy about Banquo and the witch's prophecy, which predicts he will father a line of kings. He hires 2 men to kill Banquo and his young son, Rience. The assassins succeed in killing Banquo, but Rience escapes. At a royal banquet afterwards, Banquo's ghost enters and sits in Macbeth's place. Macbeth flies into a rage. A desperate Lady Macbeth tells her guests that her husband is unwell. The ghost departs, but when he returns a second time, prompting another display of anger from Macbeth, the Thanes flee. So we have Act 4, and in Act 4, there are three scenes. So the summary of it is Macbeth visits the three witches again. They conjure up spirits. An armed head warns him to beware Macduff. Another spirit, a bloody child, says, None of woman born shall harm Macbeth. A third, a crowned child, says, Macbeth will never vanquish be until great Burnham Wood to high Dunsinane Hill shall come against him. Macbeth is told by Lennox, one of the Scottish nobles, that Macduff is in exile in England. Despite this, he sends murderers to Macduff's castle where they kill Macduff's wife and their young son. In the long so-called English scene, Macduff, as yet ignorant of the deaths, is tested by Malcolm, who is finally convinced of his truth and honor. Immediately after this, Macduff learns that his wife and son have been murdered. Then we come to Act 5. There are around 8 scenes in this. And in this, Lady Macbeth, now racked with guilt, sleepwalks, trying to wash imaginary bloodstains from her hands. As the English army approaches, led by Malcolm, Macbeth learns that many of his thanes are deserting him. While encamped in Burnham Wood, the English soldiers are ordered to cut down branches from trees and to carry them as camouflage, fulfilling the witch's prophecy. Macbeth delivers a final, despairing soliloquy in learning that his wife has died. The cause is undisclosed, but Malcolm later suggests she has committed suicide. In the ensuing battle, Macbeth confronts Macduff, saying that he cannot be killed by any man, born or woman. But Macduff declares that he was from his mother's womb untimely ripped. Macduff beheads Macbeth off stage, and the play ends with Malcolm accepting the throne. So, when you read these, when you read Shakespeare, it seems as though it is of today and so interesting. The emotions are so well put. Even when you read uh, the scenes, uh, I mean, even the language suddenly seem that they are so relevant even in today's day and age. For example, if I read Act 5, Scene 5, enter Macbeth, Satan and soldiers with drum and colors. Macbeth, hang out our banners on the outward walls. The cry is still, they come. Our castle's strength will laugh a siege to scorn. Here, let them lie till famine and the ague eat them up. Were they not forced with those that should be ours? We might have met them tearful, beard to beard, and beat them backward home. So he says, which means he says, just hang out the flags. Everyone keeps yelling, here they come. Our castle is strong enough to laugh off their siege, he says. They can sit there until they die of hunger and disease. All of that. And then suddenly it's written, a cry within of women. So the sound of women crying inside. And then, what is that noise? Satan says, it is a cry of women, my good lord. The women crying. Macbeth, I have almost forgot the taste of fears. The time has been my senses would have cooled to hear a night shriek, and my fellow hair would at a dismal treatise rouse and stir, as life were in't. I have supped full with horrors, direness, familiar to my slaughterous thoughts, cannot once start me. He says, I'm almost forgotten what fear feels like. There was a time when I would have been terrified by a shriek in night, and the hair on my skin would have stood up, etc. He talks. Horrible things are so familiar, he says, that they can't startle me anymore. So enter Satan. Satan comes. Wherefore was that cry? We asked, why were they crying? Satan, the queen, my lord, is dead. So, I mean, just imagine, she should have died hereafter, Macbeth says. There would have been a time for such a word. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle, life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. So, I mean, it's a shock for him, and he just says she would have died later anyway. The news was bound to come someday, tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow, he just says. The days creep slowly along until the end of time, and every day that's already happened has taken fools that much closer to their deaths. Out, out, brief candle. It's like the candle just goes off. We are like that. Life is nothing more than an illusion, he says. It's like a poor actor who struts and worries for his hour on the stage and then is never heard um, for his from again. Life is a story told by an idiot, full of noise and emotional disturbance, but devoid of meaning, he says. And all of this, I mean, the way Shakespeare puts things are so interesting. Like, let's just take Act 1, Scene 1. Thunder and lightning, enter three witches. First witch, when shall we three meet again? In thunder, lightning, or in rain? Second witch says, when the hurly-burly's done, when the battle's lost and won. Third witch says, that'll be ere the set of sun. First witch, where the place? Second witch says, upon the heath. Third witch, there to meet with Macbeth. I mean, even as you read, you can. The I remember as kids we used to be uh, so sort of bewitched by Shakespearean language, but now that you read, it's quite simple and it has a dramatic. It gives you a dramatic effect anyway. You can take up any lines from anywhere. It is so interesting. One thing I like about this No Fear Shakespeare Macbeth is that you have the text given here and the meaning just next to it. So if you have even a little trouble understanding whatever you're reading, uh, you can uh, you can read from there. Like for example, now Act 3, Scene 2. Enter Lady Macbeth and a servant. Lady Macbeth, is Banquo gone from court? Servant says, "Aye, madam, but returns again tonight." Lady Macbeth, say to the king I would attend his leisure for a few words, which means go and tell the king I want to talk to him for a few minutes. So say to the king I would attend to his leisure for a few words. Servant, madam, I will. Lady Macbeth, knots had all spent. Where our desires is got without content, 'tis safer to be that which we destroy than by destruction dwell in doubtful joy. So she says, she's saying, if you get what you want and you're still not happy, you spent everything and gain nothing. It's better to be the person who gets murdered than to be the killer and be tormented with anxiety. So from there, enter Macbeth. How now, my lord? Why do you keep alone? Of sorriest fancies your companions making, using those thoughts which should indeed have died with them, they think so. They think on. They think on. Things without all remedy should be without regard. What's done is done. So, which means he says, what's going on, my lord? Why are you keeping to yourself with only your sad thoughts to keep you company? Those thoughts should have died when you killed the men you're thinking about. If you can't fix it, you shouldn't give it a second thought. What's done is done. Macbeth. So Macbeth says, we have scotched the snake, not killed it. She'll close and be herself, whilst our poor malice remains in danger of her former tooth. But let the frame of things disjoint, both the worlds suffer. Oh, we will eat our meal in fear and sleep in the affliction of these terrible dreams that shake us nightly. Better be with the dead, whom we, to gain our peace, have sent to peace. So Macbeth says, we have slashed the snake, but not killed it. It will heal and be as good as new, and we'll be threatened by its fangs once again. But the universe can fall apart and heaven and earth crumble before I'll. Yes. And the Cornell guide, I found this very interesting, is 10 facts about Macbeth. So I'll just read it out, maybe later. First is Macbeth is both Shakespeare's last tragedy and the shortest at about 2100 lines. It is not much more than half as long as Hamlet, which has 3,924 words. I mean, you must read the book for yourself to see what the facts are. Just let you know what it is. I found it very interesting. Basically, that's it. But if you Macbeth often focuses on several key aspects. That is, ambition and power. One of the central themes of Macbeth is the corrupting influence of unchecked ambition and the lust for power. Critics explore how Macbeth's initial noble qualities are overshadowed by his ambition to become king, leading him to commit heinous acts to secure and maintain his position. Also, if you uh, read Macbeth, you'll come another underlying key aspect is guilt and conscience. The play delves into the psychological consequences of guilt and the struggle of characters to reconcile their actions with their conscience. Critics analyze Macbeth's descent into madness as he grapples with guilt over his crimes, as well as Lady Macbeth's psychological deterioration as a result of her involvement in Duncan's murder. It also, if you go through it, another aspect is fate and free will. Macbeth raises questions about the extent to which characters are governed by the fate or have agency des- over their own destinies. Critics debate whether the prophecies of the witches predetermine Macbeth's actions or whether he freely chooses to pursue his ambition despite the consequences. And of course, it also focuses on the gender roles and ambition. Many critics examine the portrayal of gender roles in Macbeth and how ambition is gendered. Lady Macbeth's ambition and manipulation challenge traditional gender norms, leading to discussions about power dynamics and the role of women in Shakespearean tragedy. And also imagery and symbolism, if you go through this. Macbeth is renowned for its vivid imagery and symbolism, particularly in its depiction of darkness, blood, and supernatural elements. Critics analyze how these motifs contribute to the atmosphere of the play and enhance its themes of evil, violence, and the supernatural. And of course, it's a political allegory. Some interpretations of Macbeth view the play as a political allegory that reflects contemporary concerns about monarchy, power struggles, and the consequences of political ambition. Critics draw parallels between the events of the play and the historical or political context, exploring how Shakespeare's portrayal of power dynamics resonates with audience across time. Even today, I mean, it is so relevant. Overall, you find that the characters, the theme, the language, and the historical context uh, that which you come across, they uncover layers of meaning, and you can interpret the play's enduring relevance even today and its complexity. Undoubtedly, it's a great play to be enacted if you're in school or a college, and it's great to read it. And that's it. I mean, the more you think about it, the more you can. So, so here I'm just reading from the back that for much of the 20th century, Macbeth was seen by critics as a deeply unsettling play, but one in which good finally overcomes evil. In this concise, entertaining, easy to read guide, Graham Bradshaw puts these arguments in perspective. He shows that the play is much more terrifying than traditionalist critics allow, and drawing on more than 30 years of studying Shakespeare, offers his own incisive view. So, this book is written as an essential reading for students or theatre goers who want to understand the fascinating critical arguments which have raged about Macbeth and to know what Shakespeare's great tragedy is really about. So this is this book, and the other one is Cambridge Student Guide. In this, uh, the series editor is Rex Gibson. Says, what is Macbeth about? This Cambridge Student Guide will help you to look at the play from different viewpoints. Even for examination, it's going to equip you with the skills to justify your interpretations with independence, confidence, and authority. So, and the key features in this book will guide you towards evaluating the significance of historical, social, and cultural context, then expressing independent opinions and judgment informed by different interpretations, then structuring your writing to produce persuasive, informed, and coherent responses. So I'm going to write down the ISBN numbers, and of course, this is No Fear Shakespeare Macbeth. It is read Macbeth in all its brilliance and actually understand what it means. Actually, you have the Shakespearean language and the English language as we speak today. No Fear Shakespeare gives you complete text of Macbeth on the left-hand page, side by side with an easy-to-understand translation, which is in English, of course, on the right. So it's a line-by-line translation, and I found this book very interesting. In fact, when you have the translation, you feel, oh, I mean, the Shakespearean text feels very simple. So happy reading, and discover for yourself what it is. That's it.